So I've got Sharon Glatz Scott out of Seattle on
Yeah,
with us today on Fly the Coop. Welcome, Sharon. I'm so psyched to have you here today. You have no idea. How are you doing, friend?
I am doing awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, I'm
Honor.
so well. We have known each other. How many years now has it been? We met at a Tom Ferry conference, like one of the elite
Yep.
retreats or something.
I think it's got to be five
I
plus
think
years.
so. I think so. And I love those events, especially the elite retreats because it's smaller and more intimate. I thrive in that.
And
Um,
you learn so much. It's packed with information.
I know it's really great. So a little shout out to Tom Ferry and all his amazing coaches. We appreciate you. So tell us about Seattle. Tell us about Seattle.
Do you want to know about the weather? Do you want to know about the market? There's so much going on in Seattle right
It's
now.
like bananas out there. You and I have
Mhm.
actually transacted a few times now with our mutual clients. And I've
Mhm.
got like five clients right now all talking about moving out to Seattle. So what's happening out there, even with
So,
all of the world events going on? Tell me what the jam is out there right now.
so everybody wants to move to Seattle. Seattle is a great hub to be in. I mean, we've got water, we've got mountains, we've got, you know, technology.
Hmm.
Our freeways are getting a little bit more jammed. We've
Yeah.
got the bus line and the train lines going in, and it's getting Seattle's a great place to live. I love Seattle because you can go skiing and sailing in the same day.
That's incredible. So tell us,
Mhm.
for those of us that are in the Midwest or on the East Coast, tell us how that works. Like, what's the makeup of Seattle? Let's just talk about the city. For those of the audience that have never been before, tell us how do you ski and how do you sail at the same time in the same day?
So I live on Mercer Island, and it's 3 miles to Bellevue and it's 3 miles to Seattle. So there's actually bridges to get you across to either, both cities.
Right.
Um, I love Bellevue because Bellevue is a thriving, growing spot right now. Everyone's moving to Bellevue. The Bellevue skyline has just gotten so much beautiful. It's gotten so much prettier than it's ever been. Seattle's also a great spot. Granted, there's been a little rough patches there, but
Yep.
it's starting to get busy again with all the cruise ships starting to come in. The skyline is so beautiful, and the best way to see the skyline actually is taking a ferry across to, Bainbridge Island, Vashon Island,
Yeah.
one of the 600 islands out there. It's
Oh,
just amazing.
amazing. Amazing. So
Mhm.
what's happening in the tech world out there? Like, what are the major players at the moment?
So right now, Amazon,
Hmm.
Google,
Yeah.
Facebook,
Wow.
those are the really big
Big.
hubs.
Yeah.
Google is taking up Kirkland.
Mm,
Kirkland is about 20 minutes north of us.
okay.
And that's just a charming little city as well, community.
Okay.
It's and
Amazing.
communities. That's what it's all about.
So, in terms of the attraction, what are you seeing? Because you've been in the market for a long time selling
Hmm.
and you've been living there. I mean, I think you're born and raised, aren't you?
Actually, I was born, actually, the real story is my
Yeah.
dad delivered me outside a Greasy Spoon restaurant in Exeter Township, Pennsylvania. So we're really East Coast and migrated here. I've lived here since about fifth grade. So yes, I am more or less Seattleite for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. And when you're working with your clients, it seems to me, from my perspective, because of the relo that I've been doing from the Twin Cities, there's been
Hmm.
so much attraction going that direction from all over the country. So as a relocation component to this, are you feeling like it is because of Amazon, Google? Do you think that's what's driving it, or is there something else happening out there that's an attraction for people? Weather, perhaps?
I think it's a combination of everything, actually. I think it's our tech world. We've got also health here,
Hmm.
uh, a huge biotechnology platform.
Okay.
We've got Boeing, so we've got aerospace.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay.
Mhm. And then
Okay.
there's a lot of folks that just come and visit Seattle and they're like, wow. And then they move here spontaneously.
What's your favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant at the moment has got to be, there's so many.
I know there is. I see the write-ups.
I know, it's incredible. I think my favorite restaurant right now is,
Do,
oh my God,
do, 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 do,
I know there's
do,
so many.
do, 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 do.
I'm like, oh my God, I just totally hit a wall. Um,
We got a whole list of restaurants because there
I know
are
they're
so
all like
many.
flashing in front of my head. I'm like,
Yeah,
I feel like
there's so many, and the brewery scene is massive out
the
there.
wineries are
The wineries are
incredible.
incredible. There's so much, even as a vacation spot. One of the reasons I've been wanting to interview with you is because I am a huge fan. I just think it's such a beautiful part of the world. And oddly, I've had a lot of clients that are that direction, either because born and raised and going back or relocating because of work, right?
Hmm.
We've done some work. So it's a great storytelling experience about the power. Three things: the power of the networking that happens because of our coaching family.
Uh-huh.
It's a very
Absolutely.
intimate family, really, even though you look at the mere size of it, right? There's thousands of members. I've built such incredible relationships with amazing realtors all over the country and internationally because of the TF
Hmm.
unit. And I think that what happens with that is these life transitions we're supporting. And we'll use this couple that I know from the Twin Cities that I sent over to you. We'll use them as an example.
Hmm.
Beautiful home, beautiful area of our city in Lake of the Isles. They had a business relocation. Being able to pick up the phone and be able to partner with somebody you know, like, trust, and know that they'll be the right fit for your clients that are making this major investment and going through a major life transition is so incredibly powerful. So
Hmm. I
incredibly
agree.
powerful. And you did a beautiful job with them, and you're friends. Like, we make these people become our friends, right? Our clients
Hmm.
are our friends. And through that, then our clients refer us more business because of
Hmm.
the support systems, because there's a lot of ordinary out there, and then there's the elite extraordinary. And I
I agree.
would put you into the category of the elite extraordinary.
Oh, you're
Mhm.
one of those back to you.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
It
So,
is very
what do you
true.
think
I
about the
agree.
market right now? Because we are working really hard, and we were just talking about this week. What's your take? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I really do believe we're having late springs.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
with that, we still are having a crisis in inventory. We are absolutely anemic.
That's a
And
great
then when,
word for it.
yeah, and then when houses come on the market that are positioned well, priced well, they sell very quickly. And we're
Great.
seeing multiple offers all over again.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
It is an interesting time because we here in the Twin Cities are up 36% year to date from where we were last year. So, albeit the word anemic is real, and we're not caught up at all right now. I would
mhm.
say it's a combination of things. Everything's moving. Our absorption rate is still very low. I would say under 60 days, where it was less than a month last year. If
Yeah.
3 weeks, it was crazy. Which, for those that have not don't know what that means, it's the amount of real estate in your city that can be fully consumed by the buyer consumer, and
Mhm.
then you don't have any real estate left anymore. So the churn effect, I call it. There is still a multiple offer leg of our business, but it's not as significant here anyway, Sharon, as it was over the last 3 years, because we're seeing an uptick in inventory. The
Mhm.
secret sauce is pricing correctly, and the education on that, I would say, for the consumer, meaning the seller who is putting the product out to the consumer, is understanding they may not be able to price their home where their neighbor perhaps landed a year ago, because it's just a different market climate. We have a little bit of that going on here.
I agree. I agree. And I think it's so interesting of the buyers. I just had a listing, and it's so interesting to me how there's some agents out there that aren't educating their clients. and how the client doesn't want to get into a bidding war.
Mm-hmm.
How's being homeless, or how is it, being a renter where your landlord is going to keep increasing your rent, but if
Right.
you purchase, the bank doesn't increase your rate,
Right.
you know.
Well, and more importantly, in a climate where we absolutely know for a fact that our real estate is only increasing and appreciating, like we're not
Mhm.
going to see a repeat of what we saw during the recession years in 2008, 9, 10. It's just not plausible because our cities and our nation have been inventory short for quite some time now. And with all the influx and relocation happening, internationally included, coming here, um, supply and demand rule.
Yeah.
And the supply demand component with 40% of the nation empty nesting right now, right? So there's a lot of life
Mhm.
happening. And then we have that pent up demand with the millennials that waited a little longer in life to be homeowners. And they have the leg of help, if you will, with their parents getting them
Mhm.
into homes because the rental world is just so unsustainable, right?
Oh, geez.
An
Yeah.
interesting time.
It's very interesting, and I agree. Yeah. It's
Oh,
interesting to me that the consumers out there don't understand that the rent is just as expensive as a
mortgage.
mortgage.
I know. Well, it's fear, right? A lot of people, we were just talking about this with one of my lead lenders. A lot of people think they really need to come to the table with this big bucket of money, right? I got and have
Mhm.
all this money to get in. And then they get psyched out because all but the rates for us are really a non-play because we've been through 20 plus years of rates
Mhm.
and rates don't really lead in the decision making component, at least in my mind, in life transition. Like life keeps on going and you can't
Mhm.
wait for the rate to catch up with your need. Got to
I
keep
agree.
living and you can always correct for a rate lock and a future refi, which is inevitable. That history proves that to be true, right? So
Mhm.
I think understanding the lending options out there to get them in and that it's still favorable when you look at the differential on that mortgage payment, even if you're going in with less cash in comparison to, really like flushing your money down the toilet. It's not
Right.
bringing you anything at all in the rental market, and you're spending so much money. The rental scene in your market is insane. Tell us about it.
It is insane.
Expensive.
And back to your point, I really do think the news, let's go back to the Tom Ferry quote,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
news does more to confuse
So true.
than, you
Mhm.
know,
It's
and
ridiculous.
everyone's reading the headlines, and the headlines are like, they're so wrong on every level,
It's just
you
shame
know?
on them, truly. It's so incredibly inaccurate. And,
Mhm.
one to many, right? And
Right.
so we try to be one to many when we're doing this, but fundamentally our work is very one-on-one. We're counseling one at a time.
Yep.
And it's enlightening to them almost every single time. They're like, really? I had no idea.
Mhm.
Because no
Yeah.
one's doing a one to many conversation that's real and honest and really grassroots. I call it in the ditches, in the trenches, the real deal, like the people that are working in the trenches, you and I,
Yeah.
and what's really happening in the market.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think that there's so many people out there that are misinformed, and it hurts them, you
Hmm.
know? I was
It
just
really
talking
does.
with
Yeah.
another client yesterday, and you should have seen my phone. They're like, they came through my open house, and they needed a 3 bedroom. And this is a 3 bedroom, but it's truly a 2 bedroom plus office. And they're like, we just decided we're gonna just keep on renting. And I'm like, no, don't do it.
Well,
So
they're
it's
scared. It's fear.
it is fair.
What's the how do you lead and take fear out of the decision making process? And that's through providing valuable, insightful facts that are inspiring and not scary. If
Mhm.
this, then that is what I always say. If this, then this is the outcome. But if you do this, this can be the outcome. And then really getting it down to the numbers. Like
Mhm.
fundamentally, this is the numbers here, and this is what the numbers look like here. and
Right.
reverse engineering that. Same with negotiating, right? When you are in a position where you can negotiate, how minimally some of these, what they consider big negotiation gaps are, how really impactful it is to a seller and how valuable the real estate is already and how little it really affects the buyer's outtake of money per month. Really
Right.
understanding the root of that. And I don't think many, especially in a market, how are you feeling about new agents out there that have been in the business for under 5 years?
I'm a little concerned. I know that the absorption rate or the attrition rate is going to be a little bit higher this year. I understand that there's a lot of agents getting out of the business right now,
Mhm.
which is sad to me. We do have a wonderful industry. And I do think that, there's such a huge learning curve. It's just, we're not just selling houses anymore. We're
Mhm.
helping people with lifestyles and communities. We're in the marketing space. We're in the YouTube space. We're
Yeah.
in the video space. We have so many hands that we need to handle.
Present. Yeah.
And it makes it really hard. And so it's overwhelming.
Mhm.
I feel like, I think that there's not enough support out there and you always have to go find it.
Mhm. That is not the business we started in, is it?
No, remember when we
Oh,
started with the books?
yeah, I know. We talked about that. No, seriously, everybody. We didn't have an MLS. We didn't have the cell phone technology. We looked up listings in a book,
A
um,
weekly book.
a weekly book that had to be updated. And oftentimes back, if I remember like in 2000 to 2005, when we used to have to pick up the keys at the office and then they would hide the keys because they didn't want us to show the house because they knew there were, all kinds of things were going on. But the books would never be updated because the inventory would sell before the book was updated.
And
Um,
remember fax machines when the paper used to curl?
yeah. It would come rolling out. Oh my gosh. It's just for those of us that have been 20 plusers in the industry, watching the technology take over is really incredibly powerful, inspiring, and overwhelming all at the same time. It is really something else. And as an individual, there's an expectation to level up and be competitive and serve your client that you're really participating in all of it. And we're just
Mm.
one person, which I think is why teams are really taking over because it's a village, you
I
know,
agree.
to do the
I
work.
agree. Hmm.
It's a village to do the work. You can't be one person and do it all. It's just not physically possible.
Not anymore. I don't think it is.
No,
I'm a solo agent
I
and
know
I'm
you
getting to
are.
the point where I'm like, I got to start doing something different.
Well, you've been thinking about building out your team though. We've talked about it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And now more than ever,
more
it's
than
just,
ever. Yeah.
yeah, it's too hard to get to everything.
And I think that's a perfect example, Sharon, to use for seasoned agents like you, because I just was visiting with a friend of mine in this market who's been around for 20 plus years. Same thing. And she goes, in a way, I'm building my team through my subcontracting affiliates that are helping me with videography, editing, ISA work, returning phone calls, errand running. You kind of, it doesn't, teams can mean a lot of different things.
Hmm.
And
I
it's
agree.
got to be within the comfort zone of you as an individual. You can't, the one thing that I think is interesting with all these big pop-up brokers out there is they feel like it's them or nothing. Like it's it. Like this is the right model. And there's many models. And there's a lot of
Hmm.
different people out there, a lot of different personalities, and a big population to be supported. A lot of people that need help. There's a lot of room and space for multiple different kinds of models. I think
Hmm.
fundamentally understanding that putting the level of stress and responsibility on one human being is not realistic anymore. So if you're going to be in this business, being supported on some model that works for you as an individual is the key. It doesn't need to be one of those big, massive teams with 1,000 agents or even 100. It
Yeah,
doesn't need to be that. And I think when people talk teams, that's where their brains go, don't you think?
I agree. I agree. I think that they think massive, but
Mhm.
I think you're right. It doesn't have to be. It could be two, it could be three people.
Yeah,
Uh,
for
but
sure.
I thought it was so funny. I had a call yesterday on a condo, and it was like a 1-800, $500, the seller pays $500 just to get into the MLS.
Right.
And it was so funny. It was like, press one for this, press two for that, press three for that. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I didn't get it. And so finally I pressed three and I got to the seller, which was so interesting. So I'm talking with the seller instead of the agent.
Oh, weird.
Oh gosh,
It's
it was
just like,
so weird.
what's going on when you've been in a very highly service-minded mindset? Like, you and I both come from similar models that is very high touch, high service, problem solving, solution based real estate. Like we're really
Mhm.
there shouldering, step in play with the client, all of them, all of the stories, regardless of
Yeah.
the complexity, right?
Mhm.
Now it feels so diluted. Like there's so many hundreds of platforms out there. Really, I call it stealing from our hard, gritty work, right? They're taking from us and then they're trying to sell our work and collect money for it. Really is what they're doing. And then they put
Exactly.
these like for sale by owner, like what you're talking about, and they're really not servicing the client at all. If anything, they're
No, and I'm like,
the
how is
disservice to
that
the
done?
client.
Oh, so I mean,
Huge.
the easiest part is like showing the client and getting them under contract. The hardest part is going from contract to
Oh my
closing.
gosh, I know. No
And good
support
luck with all the
whatsoever.
paperwork.
Yeah. They always talk about AI, but I'm like, when you're in the grittiness of this, it's hard to imagine a world, at least in our lifetime, that an
Mm,
AI could ever take over the work that we do. It's just really hard to imagine that, um,
yeah.
given the complexity, the human
Well,
emotion complexity of it.
yes, and I've taken some AI courses. Um, Actually, I'm a certified AI agent out here in Seattle.
Ooh.
But I think the hardest part about AI actually is the prompt.
Hmm.
Writing the prompt correctly. And I
Yeah.
think actually AI takes longer.
I do too. How I leverage it, and I know TF has got all kinds of stuff they're doing right now. We have
Mhm.
24 hours in a day. So I'm always about I always say with coaching, what's the nugget? Because there's too many options out there, right? You listen to Jason Pantana, brilliant, brilliant guy. So many
Yeah.
ideas, but if you were to try to tackle every idea, you never get anywhere, right? You got to take your
Mhm.
independent business model, not be overwhelmed, be very committed and focused, be really clear on what your objective is, and then
Mhm.
take the nuggets that are individually useful to your market and your model and implement them. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, totally. I
And when
agree.
it comes to the fragmenting, I call it, of the world, you have to be super clear about what your goal is and what your
Mhm.
business model is serving, and then focus on that and go
I
deep
agree.
in that. And then you're good to go. And
Mhm.
it's not easy work, but at least you know what you're doing every day. And you're fundamentally your core, business model and your belief system is fully intact and you feel good about the work you're doing every day.
Mhm. I agree. We have to get to that point where we're satisfied every day.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with that. So you and I have been talking about teams for quite a while now. And
Mhm.
I've been like very like blinders on, trying to figure it out and starting to find the path that I'm really clear on. Finding the right people. Like I call it my work family. And it's not
Mhm.
huge, but it's intimate and very, congruent and intertwined. And so personally for me, I'm not looking to really grow above maybe 20 sales agents to serve our city, our community, and with the
Right?
Florida leg and Arizona leg, because we're a cold climate. Because of my age, Kevin Coulter, my sales director, and myself in our 50s now, and with our portfolio of work that we've done, half of our database needs a warm place to be because we're cold
Oh,
here. But we're Midwesterners, so we don't leave here. So that's how we're doing it. I call it the triangle of love.
That
And
is
not a
nice.
circle, a triangle. And that's how we're doing it. And I've been super clear on that. So now where are you at with what you're looking at for the next 1, 5, 10 year plan?
I am looking forward to, I also live in I mean, you should have seen yesterday. It was just like the darkest day, and it's at the end of May. I mean, but it was just like so much rain and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to a place in the sunshine. Being a snowbird.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of Palm Springs, California, Arizona, something like that too. And building out something down there as well.
I think it's smart.
Hmm.
When you've got, for those of you that are in markets that favor a hiatus, if you will, a bit of a vacation leg, where your
Hmm.
population and peeps are loving, like everyone loves it here. They would never leave here except for maybe 2 or 3 months, or they'd have a second home, right? That they can bounce back and forth to.
Mhm.
And I think Seattle's very much like Minnesota that way. The
Oh, yes. A lot of people have what we call snowbirds.
Yeah.
So they pop down to Arizona, they pop down to Palm Springs because
Hmm.
such a quick flight.
Yeah.
They don't need to pack a suitcase, they just lock and leave.
And you got the DNA. Have the DNA to do the work, I always say. So for
Hmm.
those of us that are at that place, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we extend the baton and offer our services in those communities where our people want to be? That's the whole point.
Yes, and it's so interesting too, and that's how much our business has transitioned. We went from, the books to the faxes to, you know, technology.
The
And
YouTube.
yeah, and then we can actually do work remotely, which is really nice. I call,
Hmm.
my virtual office,
Yeah. Well, it's
which is
true.
kind of nice.
It's true
Hmm.
because so much of it is so even buying real estate. I've got a client that's a friend of Steve's that lives in Texas that wants to buy in Southwest Florida.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and everything's happening online. And of course, you fly in, you go, okay, I saw that one. Or I've got, peeps on the ground, I call it. We go in or you
Mhm.
fly in, you look at the property because fundamentally what they really need is somebody who understands real estate and understands the art of the negotiation, understands the physical makeup of the structure, knows the stuff, right? The stuff is
Right.
the same everywhere. It's
Mhm.
understanding how to navigate the processes to get you into the stuff. That's how I look at it, you
I
know?
agree. I agree.
I
Yeah.
mean, why
It's
not? So, how much work are you doing out of California right now? Because California's really changed its scope and scape of real estate. What's going on there?
So I just go down there to visit. I don't have my license yet down there. I'm looking more towards that. I was actually at one point in my career looking at going down to Cabo and getting my license down there too, because there's so many,
Huh.
English speaking people down there,
Yeah.
and doing it that way too, because I love Cabo.
Interesting. Never even thought
Hmm.
about that. But I suppose that's more of a leg for that side of the country. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there must be quite a lot of, cross-border traveling going on just because it's close.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of my friends are building, condos and houses down there, or buying condos and
Oh,
building houses
wow.
down in Cabo. Yeah.
Wow. So what's your take on because you are an international city, what's your take on what's happening internationally right now? How much work are you seeing coming in from out of the country? Because
I'm seeing a
more.
lot of people move to Seattle. They're also coming down from Vancouver.
Hmm.
Not as much as they used to, but it's been a thing. Internationally, people are, I mean, that's where they're getting all their talent, or
Right.
companies are bringing the talent over. And
Hmm.
so we are getting a lot of international work as well.
Hmm. Hmm. So jumping back to all of the gossip and glitter of the year, what's your takeaway moving into the second half of the year? And where is your focus right now in terms of how you're leading in your market and driving? the business?
So I think that's such the $1,000,000 question. I wish we had more of those crystal balls.
Yeah.
Uh, I really do believe that we're in a pretty high interest rate right now, and people, I think, are starting to settle into that interest rate
Hmm.
because people still need to buy a place, or have a place to rest their head at night.
Hmm.
I really believe that it used to be that the 5.9999999 was the new number where the market would just explode again. I really believe it's once we see things come down from from 7 to 6.9 to 6.5.
Yeah, I know.
I think the sixes are the new fives, really.
They are. They are. Well, we knew that wasn't sustainable. And we were in
Mhm.
a market where we were in the six and sevens for a very long time. And even before that, before where we were in this market right now, in the
Mhm.
past 25 years. So that was normal, by the way. The
I
last
know.
5 years have not been normal in any way, shape, or form.
I
Um,
agree.
it's like take
And
advantage because this is
and
short-lived. This is not sustainable. Yeah.
I agree. And I think, what's going to be really interesting are is seller financing. I think that's going to come back. I also think assumable loans is going to be a really hot button, and it's starting to heat up in our market now.
Mhm.
So,
It'll be interesting how the banks are favoring that. Um, what that'll look like. I haven't really run into that yet here, to be honest with you.
oh, it's coming. It's really coming. We're starting to see it. I'm starting to take classes again.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well,
So my
I
mom,
always say we're 3 years behind the East and West Coast. It's a real thing. Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, I think assumable loans are going to be like here to stay for a while until the interest rates start coming down. I mean, there's such a bottleneck right now between the people that had the 3% and they have to move. There's reasons why they have to move.
Hmm.
And, so I think that that's one of the reasons it's going to come back.
I really haven't seen a hiccup personally in our brand, within our ecosystem. Things are just moving along. I think in
Mhm.
part because we're a life transition, like the age group of people we're dealing with is such that they need to move.
Mhm.
We do a lot of life transition, empty nesting work, and we do a lot of midlife, having to do the uptick, meaning we need bigger. And then we're a full brand, so we're running all price points. So in part it's steady as she goes because of the bandwidth and the size of our market share
Mhm.
and the age group. So even though the market, generally speaking, might be feeling some slow down, we're not personally, because all the people we're dealing with will just absorb it because they need to move. They want to.
Yeah.
They're not holding up life because of it. That's our primary thing for us
I agree.
personally. So we haven't really seen a stall out. Where we've seen is complexity, the psychological complexity of life move because of just all of the glitter, I call it, pulling at an individual human being. Their
Mhm.
bandwidth and their span of ability coping is less than it used to be because there's so much coming at them through work, through family, through children, the move itself. Like everything's just harder than it used to
I
be.
think everything is harder.
Yeah, that's what we're feeling right now, personally, within our ecosystem, our brand, because we
Mhm.
are bringing in a support system for these stories. So we're really intimate, involved with their move, you know?
Right.
So, and that's just more costly, right? It costs us more as a brand because we're investing into all of that. So
Mhm.
the business model, I think why we're seeing a fallout with realtors is because they can't be profitable. It doesn't, why are they in the business if they're not profitable? And they're spending more than they're making based on what's going on in the market because of the hours they're investing. They can't.
And there's so many people in our space,
Oh yeah.
so many bright and shiny objects,
Oh yeah. So much. It's more than
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my career.
There's so much noise out there.
And it will continue, right? I mean, we talk about it and we stay focused, but we got to remember that even during a political year, and you and I've seen many elections, people think it's a distraction, but really it's just a thing that happens every 4 years. And the work that we do when people need to go through something, they've had a loss, or there's a divorce, or there's a new baby, or they're multi-generational, or they're relocating. None of that stops. It keeps right on going. And I think
Right.
a lot of people tend to get affected by all of the media distraction. For me personally, I'm like super blinder. I'm just all about Sharon.
Yeah.
What's you understand right now? All about you right now. Let's focus on you. And it works.
I agree. I
And if
agree.
you can
It's
get your clients to do that, it works, right? Like this,
mhm.
we're just going to
It's
do this.
one corner. I always say one corner at a time, just one corner.
It's so true. I think truly, if there was one takeaway, no matter what's happening, like whether you're trying to figure out what you're doing with your team or as a realtor or as a buyer or as a seller, be
Mhm.
super clear on what it is you want, and then put your blinders on and focus and get it done. Just do the work. No, I'm not
Blinders.
kidding. I'm not
That's going to
kidding
be
when I
my
say that.
takeaway. Blinders.
It's a real thing.
Turn off your
Really.
cell phone.
Oh God, yeah. It's a
Yeah,
real damn real thing.
I
Mhm.
agree. I agree. Favorite restaurant? Carmine's. I
Carmine,
couldn't think of it. I was like, I kept going like, it starts with a T.
Carmines.
Carmine's. Carmine's in Bellevue or Seattle. It's awesome.
Okay, we'll link them up so people know. What's your favorite winery then?
Oh my gosh, there's so many out there. In fact, I went out with a client of mine actually I've never been to the warehouse district out here in Woodinville. And
Oh,
he has a winery out there, or he belongs to a club out there. And so I went out there and met him. They were having an event, and it was great. It was great. But I really do
fun.
like Mark Ray.
Okay, we're gonna add that. You text me that and we'll find their stuff, their hashtag.
Yeah, it's great.
The
It's
new
so
thing we
fun.
have to do, by the way, looping back. This is like you and I didn't used to have to say, oh, we have to write a description and we need the chapter and we need a hashtag.
Hashtag.
Words were not in our vocabulary.
Keywords.
Not even oh my gosh, it's so funny. That's so funny. So if people want to move to Seattle, my friend, how do they find you?
They can find me on Instagram with my handle. I'm Sharon Glatz Scott, Sharon_Glatz Scott.
Mhm.
Uh, and on Facebook, I'm more of an Instagrammer and I'm more of a Google my business page. And so it's Sharon Glatz Scott.
Okay, so we're going to get those loaded at the bottom because I'll tell you, I've worked with you, my lovely lady, and you are awesome at what you do. And I send all of my business to beautiful Sharon when I have a relo coming in to Seattle. And I'm just super psyched to be able to share you with anyone who's going to take some time to watch our chatter and what our thoughts are on the market and on our beautiful cities.
And back at ya.
Yeah,
You're
thank you
my
so
go-to
much.
girl.
Oh, I appreciate that. I can't wait for the fall
Yes.
or October team leaders event. That'll be fun to see you there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I
Yeah.
would love to actually come out and visit you. I've never been to Minnesota before.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Carter's listening. It's so beautiful, isn't it, Carter? Right now, it's stunning. Well, listen, I'm a seasonal girl. We talk about the warm climates. I actually love the winter. I really do. I just need a little break once in a while, but love it.
We do too. Yeah, for sure.
I was just up north because now we're because of our work we're doing,
Mhm.
and how we're branding our listings with lifestyle work and sharing the stories and the ads and all the things we're doing now, right? We're starting to do Lakeshore. And we've got two pretty incredible pieces of lakeshore coming on the market with some significant shoreline. One's a
Wow.
peninsula, yeah, and valuable. Like there is a lot of money coming in from the east and west coast that are looking for respites, I call them, or family compounds. We've got
Mhm.
those, everyone's,
Oh, that's so
and they're
cool.
really affordable when you look at the cost of land and the water's pristine. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. So anyway, you would love it. You would really enjoy it. In fact, I've been trying to get a shout out to Shannon Gillette. Carter and I are going to interview her hopefully in the next month. And I had said, if you ever, for anybody out there who's looking to get away for the summer, there is really no better place than northern Minnesota. The
Oh,
resort scene is awesome, and it's just so organic, and the water's so beautiful, so beautiful. Michigan too, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, beautiful.
wow. That
So
sounds
come and
awesome.
visit. Come and visit us.
Yeah, I'm happy to help you advertise those from Seattle. I mean, I just think that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you have a beautiful day,
You
and
as well. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It was so lovely.
really fun to interview you. We'll do it again this year for sure. And I wish you a dynamic, incredibly busy, successful second half of the year.
Yes, same to you. Same to
Okay.
you. Okay.
Thank you, Sharon, for being on Fly the Coop today. Don't forget to click and subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch all of our podcasts, lifestyle, and listing videos. We're there
Love
for
it.
you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.